So every year we have the Nobel Prizes. It's the Nobel Peace Prize that's most known, but there are others. And it's one of the most prestigious and coveted prizes.
That's right. From literature to chemistry, physics, and peace, the Nobel Prizes are really, really important. They're really sought after. This year, the winners have been announced, and we're going to go over all of those names in just a bit.
Hi, I am Kiran, and welcome to Takaro, another week where we break down the news of today for you.
Hello, I'm Debkanya, and thank you again so much for joining us for our latest episode. Today, we're talking about the Nobel Prize, its importance, and who are the winners of 2024.
Yeah, it's actually really, really important. And I think the reason for it is because it's only awarded to individuals and organizations whose work has made a significant impact on humanity, right? So it really, really helps mankind across the globe in one way or the other. And that's what's so cool and so interesting about it.
Yeah. And to understand why this prize is so important, let's go into a little bit of history about the Nobel Prize. Now, it was established or started by this man called Alfred Nobel. He was a Swedish chemist, engineer, and inventor who, funnily enough, is best known for the fact that he invented, wait for it, dynamite.
Yeah.
Can you
Whoa.
can you imagine, right? Now Nobel made a lot of money because of his inventions, because of his businesses, and he later as life progressed he started worrying about how he's going to be remembered. And what triggered
Mhm.
this thought was there was an obituary. Now an obituary is basically when someone dies or someone passes away, the news comes in the newspapers, right?
Just announcing that that person has died, right? Yeah.
And by mistake, someone printed his brother's obituary and said that it was him and called him the merchant of death. Can you believe that? To be
Oof.
remembered for
Ouch.
that, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, Alfred Nobel had a moment of introspection. He had to think about, gosh, is this how I want to be remembered? And that's what led to the formation of the Nobel Prize.
Yeah. In fact, I think after that particular event, he decided that he needs to change the narrative. He needs to change
Mhm.
how everyone was going to remember him, right? And in fact, today,
Yeah.
I think if you think about the Nobel Prize, that's what he's most known for. And so what he did was he took a bulk of his fortune, all his money and wealth, and he said, I'm going to set up an entity that's going to fund and award annually people who do good things for other people. In this, he said there will be 5 categories. It is physics, chemistry, physiology or medicine, literature, and peace. So those are the 5.
So cool, right? Now, before we get started with this year's winners, Kiran, quiz time for you. Can you name
Mhm.
all the Nobel Prize winners from India?
So there was Rabindranath Tagore for literature. There was
Yes.
C.V. Raman, right, for science. There was Amartya Sen for economics.
Yes.
I know Mother Teresa was also given it as a Peace Prize, but she was not Indian origin, but she became an Indian citizen, I think.
Yes, she was an Indian
Yeah.
citizen. She's Albanian,
Yeah.
but she became an Indian citizen.
So yeah, that counts.
And there's one more, Kailash Satyarthi.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
most
yes.
recent.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So, with that, let's start going into the winners of 2024, starting with the Nobel Prize for Physiology or Medicine. It's Katalin Carrico and Drew Wiseman, 2 people who share this. They got the Nobel Prize because they made a very important discovery about mRNA. I don't know if you've heard of this
Mhm.
before. It basically stands for messenger ribonucleic acid. It basically is just like a set of instructions that helps our bodies fight sickness. Now, this
Yep.
important work led to, and this I'm sure you've heard of, the creation of the COVID-19 vaccines. Now, these vaccines
yes.
have so many lives and made the world a healthier place, helped us come out of that lockdown. Remember that? So, yeah, very, very important work.
Excellent. No, that was totally deserving. The next one is physics. And we have been hearing a lot about AI. We've covered it in one of our previous episodes as well. Artificial intelligence this, artificial intelligence that, selfless, driverless cars, creating images out of fantasy, whatever it may be. And so this year's physics award was awarded to Geoffrey Hinton and John Hopfield for their work in artificial intelligence. And what they did was actually something very interesting. It's called neural networks. And generally, you would think about your human brain and your nervous system as your neural networks, passing, information and messages so that you can do things, solve things. And they actually created a smart computer system called a neural network. So now the computer starts thinking like a human being, right? It starts working and firing neurons and, makes the computer work like our brain. And this can do huge things, recognize pictures better, understand what we're saying, and as I said, even help driverless cars.
Very, very important work there. Next one is the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Now, this is again shared between three people, David Baker, Demis Hassabis, and John Jump. Now, they made, again, coming back to computers, they made a really smart computer program which is called AlphaFold. And this was actually used to guess the shape of hundreds of proteins, right? All kinds of proteins. Now, what are proteins? Proteins are like little machines in our bodies. They basically help us stay healthy. What these scientists did was they figured out the shape of each protein, and they figured that if you know this, then you can always figure out how to treat somebody if someone falls sick, right? So this helps them design better medicines that fit perfectly with the protein. It's something like a puzzle piece to fix it or stop it from making this person get sicker or cause more problems. So very important discovery.
Huge for health and, generally for humans, right? Now, I'm going to ask you a question.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Let's do this. Trivia time. Did you know, or rather, let me ask it in a different way. Who is the woman who has won a Nobel Prize 2 different categories?
I don't know if you have heard of her, but she is Marie Curie, incredible woman who won the Nobel Prize for both physics and chemistry, and also the first woman and the first person to actually win 2 Nobel Prizes,
Huge.
Right?
Huge. Yeah, that's amazing. Such crazy work that people do, right? It's amazing.
Yeah.
So if we move on to literature as the next Nobel Award, this was actually given to an author, and first time a South Korean was actually winning a Nobel Prize in literature, right? So her name is Han Kang, and she actually writes books and stories about feelings and really responding to tough questions. And her books are often about people who are going through something hard and how they're dealing with it. And unfortunately, her books are meant only for grown-ups. So you will have to wait for some time before you can actually read them, but hopefully in due course.
I've read her work and it is super interesting, a little disturbing in parts, but you have to wait a little bit before you're old enough to read that, but definitely keep it on your reading list for the future. Next up, the one that we've all heard of, the Nobel Peace Prize. This year it was won by Nihon Hidankyo, which is basically a Japanese organization which represents atomic bomb survivors from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There's a whole story there which we can go into in a future episode. Very important event in history. This organization won for their efforts in trying to achieve a world without nuclear weapons. So important. They were recognized for using real stories from witnesses who spoke about why nuclear weapons should never be used because of the kind of impact it had on their lives, right? Now, this comes at a really important time because there's so many, as you know, multiple wars going on and there are nuclear threats increasing. So I hope leaders somewhere are listening of these different countries and taking this seriously. We do need a world where nuclear threat is not a thing.
Yeah. Now, on to the last one, which is economic sciences. And this is a really interesting one. Very often, I think my daughter has also asked me, why are some countries richer? Why are some poorer? Why is there a lot more opportunity in some countries versus the others? And so this year's winners, Darren Asimoglu, Simon Johnson, and James Robinson, actually studied why some countries are rich and others are poor. And in fact, their study talk about rules and systems and even the history. Like for India was colonized by the British. And all those aspects play a big role in how well that country can succeed and grow over a period of time, right? So very interesting work from an economic perspective. And if you get a chance, maybe go and try and read and understand it a little bit more.
Yep. And there you have it. That's a roundup of our 2024 Nobel Prize winners. Can you name some other famous Nobel Prize winners? We're going to give you a few to get you started because it's good to know the kind of inventions, the kind of research people are doing. Some of the famous ones, like we'd mentioned Marie Curie earlier. There's Albert Einstein. He's a Nobel Prize winner. Martin
Yeah.
Luther King, Malala
Nelson Mandela.
Yousafzai, Nelson Mandela, Barack Obama. So all
Yeah.
of these famous people are winners of the Nobel Prize, and there are many, many more.
And that's about it. A roundup of all the Nobel Prizes awarded this year and a little bit about its history as well. So you let us know what your favorite prize was. And in fact, if you think that there are certain topics within this that we need to also cover more, then reach out to us on Instagram or on our website, www.takarokids.com.
We are always waiting to hear from you. And if you want us to give you a shout out because you've asked about a specific topic, we'll be more than happy to do so. Until next time, you have a great week ahead.
Bye-bye.